Hi, I'm Marie Bartoletti. I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I teach physical education at McClellan Elementary School. I started running in 1980 because there was a Pittsburgh Great Race that's a 10K race. I started marathons in 1993. I ran my first marathon. It was the Pittsburgh Marathon, only because I just wanted to say I could run a marathon in my lifetime. And I did everything wrong, and I did it in 4 hours and 1 minute, and everyone said, if you did it right, you might probably be able to do it faster. And I was in the medical tent with 3 IVs, but I had to prove to myself that there was a better way to do it, so that's when I came back and ran it again and did a 3:57. Basically, I was into tennis. I was into tennis big time. I was a USTA tennis player. I actually went to nationals in Palm Springs, California, and my team, my Mount Lebanon team, actually lost in the finals. So we had a good tennis team. I was a number 1 singles player, but I didn't like to run. So if the basketball coach said we had to do suicides, I really didn't want to do them. Suicides are running sprints rapidly, lots of them, as quickly as you can. So I never liked running in high school. Actually continued tennis, and then it got to be expensive. And I couldn't find players that of my ability in the area that were close by, so I decided to try something where I could stay in shape and still get a good workout from my house without spending too much money, so I could just run from my house and it was free. I started with the Clif Bar pace team when I had officially paced some races, and I was in Philadelphia, and I met Star and Darius Blackford, who are the head of the Clif Bar pace team, and I introduced myself, and within the next year I was on the team. Once I started pacing, I realized that pacing was my thing. You can get a high from racing, but I get a bigger high from pacing. When I pace people and they got a PR or they got a Boston qualifying time or they crossed the finish line for the first time and they tell me I couldn't have done it without you, that is by far, it's almost like being a mother or a teacher. The whole time I'm running, I'm talking, I'm telling jokes, I dedicate miles. Every mile we dedicate to somebody. It helps me remember those people, and it helps people remember each other. They meet each other, so it's a fabulous way to not have to run by yourself. In 2005, I asked my son if he would like to do a marathon. And he said, sure, I'll do a marathon, Mom. So we signed up to do the San Diego Rock and Roll Marathon. So it was very exciting because it was his first marathon. He ran one 10-mile training run and went out with me to San Diego to run the San Diego Marathon. And he thought one 10-mile training run was okay to run a marathon. That's what got me into pacing, because the whole marathon was pretty funny because I did everything I shouldn't have with him, realizing what you shouldn't say to people and should say to people when they're running. When we started and we got to mile 10, and I said, David, this is as far as you've ever gone in a marathon. And he said, you didn't need to tell me that, Mom. And then the funniest thing was when we got to mile 22, there were some men dressed like women, and they had bras on, and they had a clothesline with bras hanging from them, and they were yelling, we support you. And he laughed so hard, and that's when I thought, that's what this is about. It's about laughing and having fun. It really opened my eyes to running, and after that, I unofficially paced people. So I went to marathons, and I would just run with people, and they'd say, I need to get a 350 today, and I would say, okay, what's your minute per mile? And I could just absolutely hit that mile mark every mile, and that's when I realized I could do it, and I could talk while I was doing it as long as I wasn't going too fast, and people are enjoying my conversation, and I'm good at talking, and I'm good at running, so if you put those two things together, that's what a pacer is. I sing a couple of songs while I'm pacing. I love music. I saw Elton John last week. I saw him 37 years ago for the first concert I ever saw when I was a junior in high school. And then last week I saw him 37 years later. I saw Elton John here in Pittsburgh.
I remember when rock was young. Me and Susie had so much fun, holding hands and skimming stones.
But I did come back and play Crocodile Rock for my kids, and I had a little contest last week to see who could name that tune. And nobody knew Elton John, but they said their grandfather listened to that music, which made me sad. And one said it's on a movie, Romeo and Juliet. But I gave them a prize if they could name that tune. So as soon as I put the song on, and they knew it, and then I gave them a Little Rock from Little Rock, Arkansas. I had just paced there. We Are Family. I love that song because Pittsburgh Pirates, when they were really, really good, that was one of their songs, We Are Family. So when I'm pacing, I'll just start singing, We are family. I have my 430s with me, or 445s with me.
I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing.
My favorite thing to do is dance. I love to dance.
Family. I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing.
I love, Philadelphia Freedom. That would be a good one from Elton John. That's a really good, and especially when you go to Philadelphia, you hear that one.
I used to be a rolling stone, If the course was right, I'd leave to find the answer on the road. I used to be a heart beating for someone. But the time
And then I go back to Monkeys, and I'll sing, "Here we come, running down the street. Get the funniest looks from everyone we meet. Hey, hey, we're 445s," or whatever group we're pacing. So I do songs like that.
Hey, hey, we're the monkeys, and people say we monkey around, but we're too busy singing to put anybody down. We go where we
Whatever song comes along that happens to go along with that race or anything like that, that's just like I wore pacing hats. So I always wore a bit different hat. Like at the Cincinnati Flying Pig, I had a pig that oinked. At the Outer Banks, every mile there are pirates, so I wore my Pirates of the Caribbean hat. I just do anything to have fun. People know I'm the pacer that wears the hat. I don't know what I'm wearing for Vermont yet, because I have to really do my homework and see what's indicative of Vermont. Fiberglass cows? Really? Oh, then that's what I would have to do. I've heard about fiberglass cows along the course, so if I can find something like that and design a hat like that, I might have one of my students even come up with something and give a prize to somebody to make one for me, because I don't have a cow hat right now, so I'll have to come up with something.
Wheaties give you all the grain because there's a whole kernel of wheat in every Wheaties flake. Don't be satisfied with less. Remember, what sparks a champion sparks you. And champions choose Wheaties. Breakfast of champions.
The Wheaties Box. That was something I never, ever expected in my lifetime or ever thought about ever happening. Wheaties had a contest in the year 2003, and it was to find out who the everyday champion was. It was called the Wheaties Everyday Champion, and it was someone who was not a professional athlete, and it was based on outstanding athletic ability and compelling community service. But I was teaching phys ed at the time, and one of my parents of a student who I had taught how to jump rope, and it was very challenging for the student to learn how to jump rope, and the mother was so impressed that I could do that. So this lady had called me and asked me, "Haven't you won a bunch of races recently?" So she asked me for that information, and she wrote a little 300-word essay and sent it in to Wheaties, to General Mills, for this Wheaties Energy Crunch cereal box contest that they had. When I got a call in September, they said, "You're the finalist from Pennsylvania. We picked one from each state." And I said, "Was I the only one that was nominated from Pennsylvania? Is that why I won?" She said, "I don't think so. There were 50,000 people nominated nationwide." It was pretty exciting. She said my name would be on the side of the Wheaties box. They would be alphabetical order, and when it came to Pennsylvania, it would have my name next to it. So then, a month later, I got a phone call from the guy in charge. There were now 50 people that names were going to be on the side of the box. Now they had to narrow it down to 13. And then from that, they would choose the 6 finalists who would have their pictures and articles on the back, and one of those would have their picture on the front of the Wheaties box. So they flew me out to Minneapolis, and I went with my mom, and they did an interview and a photo shoot. I guess what the funniest thing was, the first question they asked me was, "Why do you think you should be on the cover of the Wheaties box?" And I was just honest. I said, "I have no idea why I should be on the cover of the Wheaties box." So I think they thought that was funny, and that broke the ice. From then on in, the interview went really well, and they depicted me as a triathlete. So they took me out and took a photo shoot of me on the bike, and that's the picture they put on the back of the box. So they sent 6 of us who were the finalists that we knew were going to be on the back of the Wheaties box out to New York City, and we went to dinner, and they told us the next day they would unveil the life-size box and show us who was going to be on the cover of the box. So we went to Madison Square Garden the next day. Mary Lou Retton was the MC, and we pulled the cover off the box, and I was on the front of the Wheaties Energy Crunch cereal box. And I was shocked. When I came back to Pittsburgh and watched the TV show, they said I had a funny look on my face because I was looking at the box and I was waiting for the other 5 people to show up because I thought they were showing us the back of the box, and I couldn't believe I made the cover. When I went home to Kalamazoo the first time, they had all these cereal boxes at the house for me to sign for their best friends, and it was just very exciting that their daughter was on the cover of the cereal box. I really couldn't believe it myself. And when I came back to school, my students were going to the stores and buying the boxes so I could sign them. It was really cool because the teachers and the students and the principal and the administration, they had a parade. They came down and had a parade at the school, and it was really neat the day after I came back. Current day, I'm pretty much pacing. Current day, I am an elementary school physical education teacher, and I have 290 students, 1st through 5th grade. We have a Kids of Steel program here in Pittsburgh, and it's a marathon program, doing a mile at a time and finishing your last 26 mile downtown the day before the Pittsburgh Marathon. And we were the only school to do the whole distance. We had a fabulous time. We ran with Meb, who won the New York City Marathon the year before, and he talked to my kids and ran in their heat with them and signed their bibs afterwards. So it was really cool because he's such an elite athlete, and for my students to know him and for them to get to meet him was awesome. This year I have 115 students signed up, and there are 14 other schools doing it. And right now they have 750 kids signed up for the mile, and they're going to stop at 1,000. So I'm having a really good time. We're having a really good time doing that. I've absolutely noticed parents changing their lifestyles. They're running with their kids. I have a mother who's doing the half marathon this year. Last year, some of the parents called me and they said, my kids aren't even coming home from school to watch TV anymore. They say, Mom, will you go out and run with me? Or Dad, can you come out with me and take me for a run? One of my kids did the 10K last year, and he's a 5th grader this year, but he did 54 minutes. This year he cut 9 minutes off and did 45 minutes on the Pittsburgh Great Race 10K. The activities, they have games for the kids afterwards and face painting and food for them, and it's just a lot of fun. It's a great activity. So what is the one thing that people would be very surprised to know about me? Very few people know this, and I haven't done it for a long time, but I was huge into needlepoint. I would do needlepoint projects for all my brothers and sisters. When they got married, they got a needlepoint. When I was pregnant with my son 26 years ago, I was on a stationary bike doing a needlepoint for when he was born. The little bears thing. So I love doing needlepoint, but people would never believe I could sit still long enough to do a whole needlepoint project.
We are family.
How many jumps do you do in 1 minute?
Like about 90 or 100.
About one and a half jumps every second, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
How many did you do when you started?
Just like 1 or 2.
So how do you get better?
Practicing.
Thank you.
My sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing. Everyone can see we're together as we walk on by, and we fly just like birds over.